Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very elegantly put, and thank you very much for the, so you set the stage perfectly for the three speeches. I would like to preempt an apology to Wissam if he's here in case I mention something and then LPA is working on. So just preempt it. We're sorry, but we'll hear about it later. Let me tell you what we've done. I come from an industry. I come from an industry that actually services the oil and gas. So I'm here to tell you about experiences, real-life experiences that we've actually had through the lot of government initiatives, particularly to support local industry and to support local talent. And you know, this the importance of local content. Just want to make a couple of points here before I start. And most importantly, how to ensure its effectiveness in light of what's going on is something should be taken very seriously, as we can see on the next slide. You see, governments, as they embark on this oil and gas journey, and Lebanon is embarking on this journey to become one of the oil and gas producers, I'm sure the LPA has thought about it, and I'm sure that there's enough talent in the country to actually support such a drive. Essentially, is to create value. And you know, if you hear the esteemed speakers this morning, they talked about hope. I'd like to talk about an engineered hope. Let's engineer our hope properly by putting the enough governance. And this is what we're talking about here. So the local content issue and support of local industry is not something to be taken lightly. The bad news is that we have not started exploration. The good news is that we have time to actually put it together. So in the next 4 slides, and I promised Dr. Dalu that I will give you 5 minutes, like a carbon print. I'll give you 5 of my time, so you can use it because you have a very interesting. I've taken some case studies on countries that actually have applied these laws. I'm going to use the case of Brazil. We all know about Petrobras. Yes? No? Malaysia, Indonesia, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So I'll tell you exactly what happened and why did it happen. So essentially, in a nutshell, just to get the framework and the objectives moving forward, we, the government, the LPA, the authority, wishes to embark on an empowerment of the workforce development. So we need to create laws and rules and regulations to ensure that the workforce, the talent, the pool, the skill set, the know-how in country is actually up to the level that can be used by the international companies or the developer as they move forward. Second, of course, you have to catalog and see what supplies that you need. You need I remember 2 years ago I was privileged to speak on an SMEs. I listed about 34 businesses that you can be in support to the oil and gas business. And I remember we started with $2,000 up to whatever you wish. And we've talked about anywhere from laundry services to survey to measuring to whatever. So it is essentially cataloging the suppliers, the talent, and with all, you know, the good news is that Lebanon has done leaps and bounds in that. If you hear a lot of the young talent that have actually visited, talked to us separately, universities are embarking on the oil and gas knowledge. They've actually put program engineering courses and what have you. Now, how realistic is the baseline and how does it go about it? Of course, there are experts that can actually talk more about it, more of policymakers. But let me tell you where we headed with this. There has to be an analysis of the national priorities. What exactly are we trying to do here? We're trying to create employment. Are we trying to create value? And this is a big deal, create value. And how sustainable is this value creation? And what measures and means do you do it to sustain it? Local capabilities. 2 years ago, someone spoke and he said, we have a lot of talent. We have the people. We have the know-how. We have the will. We have the... So that's good news. That's a good building block to know. And universities are on it. They're getting on with it. There are some programs in engineering and petroleum engineering and what have you. Of course, look at the supply chain. Where do you do this? How do you do this? How safe is it? Do you have regularity authority? Can you build a jetty? I mean, this is one of the big deals we talked about. Do we have a jetty to service these offshore barges and these accommodation bays and so on and so forth? And of course, you have to talk about the barriers to entry. I mean, you know, this morning we spoke about governance, transparency, the difficulties, and what have you. So that's something to be taken very seriously into consideration. If I give you a little bit of background, and this is something to we've operated in many countries, and we have actually obligated ourselves to these local rules. Local content is not a margin protection for local businesses. Let me be clear on this one. So if you start putting rules and regulations to protect local industries so they can protect their margins, you're wrong. Don't do that. Two, if you're actually creating a social welfare system to create employment by force, don't do that. It doesn't work. What you need to do is be clear, pure, and committed to this journey. This journey is about creating value for the society, for the investor, for the oil company, and for the country moving forward. So the strategy, of course, experts know better about policy. I'm telling you from the application point of view, where actually we have to obligate ourselves to these local rules. The biggest challenge will remain is, at what point in time do you cut the umbilical cord and you tell the local workforce and you tell the local suppliers, get on with it and grow up? Now, you can't do that if you don't have a clarity of where we're heading with this. So here's the deal. An oil operator, a drilling operator, an investor comes to the country and saying, I'm not going to import, I'm not going to bring with me all the talent, I'm going to look and fish around. The challenge is that the LPA, in my opinion, would be a fantastic platform to actually start drafting what are the rules and regulations for the local suppliers, for the local talent, to be qualified to enter this game. Because remember, this is not a one-off game, this is a long-term thing. So recommendations moving forward, I mean, these are just, thoughts and talking to the people around here, all the leadership here. Create a committee. I'm sure, Wissam will come and saying, we have it. Well, if you have it, great. Let's have a committee that evaluate the existing and future SMEs. We spoke about the SMEs. We spoke about how we're going to fund those SMEs. And by the way, we spoke about the SMEs, and people spoke about the banking sector. I personally, I don't know, I don't live in this country, unfortunately, but I have not seen a desk in any of the three major banks that actually support SMEs. I could be wrong. I wish to be wrong. Let's put it this way. So they don't. So create a committee to evaluate the existing and future SMEs and, of course, the local talent. This committee should include business leadership. It should bring people that have actually done it in countries. And I'll give you, before I wrap up, my experience in those five countries I've actually mentioned. So it includes business leaders to better understand the challenges and how do they perceive local content. Is it an obligation or a pleasure? And this is how we're going to position it and talk to people. And of course, create interactive sessions in university, which I'm sure the team here is actually doing. They're going to universities and talking about it. But I think you can add another module in saying, let me tell you the benefit of engaging in this sector. I'll give you an idea about Brazil. If you want to supply to the oil and gas business in Brazil, you should have 40% local content. So if you don't, you don't. That's the deal. So my question is that really the right policy or not? Saudi Arabia is embarking on different content. They're telling you if you don't have 55% Saudization, you or may not bid. Is that the right approach? I don't know. But let me tell you, they're going places, and Brazil is not. If you take Kuwait, they have a different approach. They say the priority should be on 10% on the price to local manufacturers. The question is, are we teaching the local manufacturers to be lazy or to be efficient, or both? I don't know. So these are the topic questions. Of course, I know the answers, but I'm just hypothetically telling you I don't know. So technically speaking, I think the LPA should spearhead this initiative, sit down, talk to the business leadership and understand what is there, catalog this, put a drive through, and we'd love to participate in it. So thank you very much.